Good morning. This is the BLAINESWORLD webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And you get more information and find out about previous shows on our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on people and organizations who are doing cool stuff in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Karon Korp, who's a realtor with Asheville Realty Group, president of Magic Mountain Press, and the board of directors of the Kiwanis Club of Asheville. And thank you, Karon, for being my guest today. What you can do is wave to all your fans and friends who are watching. So
Hi,
if you're watching, that's Karon.
thank you for having us.
Well, it's my pleasure. As you'll see, as we discuss what Karon does, she wears many hats on any given day. As a realtor, book publisher, and active member of the Kiwanis Club of Asheville, she's proud to say she's been involved in that club for 25 years. So I'm very impressed. You started what, at the age of 7 or 8, was it? When you started? No, you're the youngest member of the group.
Well, I'm not the youngest member, no, but I haven't been involved with Kiwanis for 25 years. Now, my husband, who is the former mayor of Asheville, Russ Martin, has been a member for 52 years, but
Okay.
our club has been around for 105 years.
And I was just going to say that 105 years of historic projects, ongoing service, and local nonprofit partnerships helping children and families in need in our community. And so the first question I always ask you in terms of Karon, your background, we're just going to focus, if it's okay, on the Kiwanis today. We want to talk about Asheville Kiwanis. So,
Absolutely.
so you said you were involved for 25 years. Your husband was involved longer than that. What got you involved in Kiwanis?
Well, became very important to me recognizing the opportunity to be involved in the community and to make a difference in a way that was hands-on and helping those most in need. And that would be Kiwanis has a focus on children, and so that's what really drew me to Kiwanis was the ability to get very engaged on a personal level in helping children in our community, in schools, and those in need.
Now, you said your husband had been involved in it before that he'd been in for 27
And
more years.
still,
Yeah.
52 years, yes.
Okay. And so when you first came on board, or I guess we should back up a little bit, and for the benefit of the folks who don't know what Kiwanis is, could you just talk a little bit about what Kiwanis is all about?
I will. And so Kiwanis is an international organization with thousands of clubs around the world that dedicate themselves. And our mission, our motto is improving the world one child and one community at a time. So every year, there are thousands of clubs, not just here in America, but around the world that create programs and projects and educational initiatives that focus on those most in need. Of course, our focus is children, but we don't just limit it to that. And so around the world, our motto is one child, one community at a time.
Now, how does Kiwanis, and we'll take example the Asheville chapter, how do you choose which projects to get involved in? Is that memberships decide that, or is national decide that?
Um, well, that's a really great question, Blaine. So we fortunately have a number of local partnerships with nonprofits, and we're able to identify, and Asheville is so wonderful, as I'm sure you know, of the amazing philanthropic efforts that exist here, and so we're able to identify in some cases where There are needs where we can assist through our contacts, organizations, partnerships, how we can kind of, fill in the cracks. Perfect example, Johnston Elementary School in West Asheville. So as you know, educational funding
Right.
sometimes doesn't meet all of the needs of the schools. So we adopted Johnston Elementary School a couple of years ago. So we provide funding, resources, supplies, hands-on work, teacher reward days. We provide a bicycle program, for instance, for students who have perfect attendance. So every quarter, we provide a bicycle for students who've had perfect attendance because we know that if kids are in school, they're learning and it's where they need to be. So every quarter, all of those students who've had perfect attendance at Johnston Elementary get entered into a drawing, and one of them wins a brand spanking fabulous new bicycle. Because we know if kids are in school, it's where they need to be and they're learning.
What's very exciting about that program is that the kid gets the bike, but then do they get to keep the bike or they have to give it up after the quarter?
No, they totally keep the bike.
Very
Oh
cool.
yeah. And they're so excited. Oh my gosh. And these are really nice bikes. And occasionally we can get sponsors to help out with that. But through our fundraising efforts, through all of our charitable programs and projects, we raise the money. But the whole thing is about keeping kids in school because when they show up, they learn. When they're there, it's the most positive environment for them to be. And then they get entered into this fabulous drawing once a quarter, and we have seen their attendance really improve, and the kids are thrilled.
What I love about the idea too is that it's a positive nature. So instead of punishing kids if they don't come to school or, giving them negative feedback, here they're getting positive feedback, for
Right.
coming to school. And that's really cool. You do it every quarter. So every quarter, a different kid gets a bike.
You betcha.
How long have you been doing that?
Couple of actually, we've been doing the bicycle project for several years. Our focus in the last couple of years has been Johnston Elementary, because of the nature of where the school is and the demographic population of the school. We've seen at times as many as 15 different countries
Wow.
represented in the children who are attending that school. So we recognize that they may not have all of the funds that they need for their supplies, for their projects, for their programs, but also the diversity of the students that are attending the school. And so we kind of picked that one out, and we've been sponsoring them for a couple of years now, several years actually.
Have you ever tracked the results afterward? I'd be curious. You said so they had perfect attendance leading up to it. After, have you seen how these students have done, or do they maintain the perfect attendance? Do they do better in school? Have you looked at that at all?
No, and that actually is a really great question. I don't know that that's something that we're set up to do as a
Sure.
nonprofit volunteer organization. However, we also work with three area high schools. So we work with Reynolds High School, Anka High School, and Irwin High School with a program that's called Key Club that teaches service leadership and learning. So, we can follow some of these kids through middle school and into high school and teach them the importance of giving back to their community, of taking leadership roles in their high schools, of service learning. That's what we call it, service learning.
If I can, I'll share a quote with you, one of my favorite quotes on that subject. And it's from a woman by the name of Shirley Chisholm. And she was the first Black woman to ever run for president. You've heard the name.
I
And
have heard the
right.
name.
Anyway, the quote, and it's so in line with what you're mentioning, which I love, and I have it on my wall here somewhere, is that service is the rent we pay for living on earth. So in terms of working with the kids, it's we should be giving service. And what you do, what Kiwanis is doing is so exciting, is get kids on a high school level to kind of buy into that, that they're here to help other people.
Well, and honestly, if we teach and educate our children when they're young and as they're growing into adults about the importance of giving back, and not only that, about the difference that we can make in the world, kindness and compassion. And it takes the smallest amount to make a difference in someone's life. And we have incredible results from our key clubs with our 3 area high schools that we sponsor. Amazing. For instance, Reynolds High School, and I serve as the key club advisor at Reynolds High School. Beth Love is the teacher advisor there. Hannah Anderson was last year's president, and she received a $1,000 scholarship from Kiwanis. We gave out 3 Key Club scholarships. They raised $6,000 from Manna Food Bank. That was their main project, as well as like 1,300 pounds of food. And they did several projects, which they organized, orchestrated, planned, did all the logistics. But $6,000 in monetary donations and 1,300 pounds of food to Manna Food Bank that went directly back into our community. That was Reynolds Key Club, Reynolds High School, and supported by Kiwanis.
Let me ask you in terms of Kiwanis, it's the actual Kiwanis, and you mentioned up there. There are other local brands. There's one in Black Mountain, I think you said, and there's another Kiwanis. Where's the other local one?
Waynesville.
Wheatsville. Um,
Waynesville.
your chapter, approximately how many people belong to it?
Well, right now, to be honest with you, we have roughly about 20 members.
Okay.
So, a lot of nonprofit organizations, which I'm sure you're aware as you're in touch with so many, really suffered through COVID because we couldn't meet in person, we couldn't do our projects, we couldn't do our fundraisers. And so we are, I would say, in a rebuilding phase, as many nonprofits are, although we're having a very successful year with our projects and fundraisers. So we have about 20 to 25 members from a time when our attendance and membership was much, much higher. And so we're really working on getting the word out, which is why I'm here talking with you to help spread the word about the great things that we're doing in the community.
And since you mentioned it, talk about that a little bit, if you would, Karon. So if folks want to get more information about Asheville Kiwanis, what's the first thing they should do?
Well, they can totally check out our website, which is www.ashevillekiwanis.org, or they can email us at kiwanisclubofasheville@gmail.com. And there's so many different ways to get involved, and our members bring us new ideas all the time for different nonprofit partnerships and programs. We support sleeptight.kids.org. We gave a grant, a nice grant to HARK, which is helping at-risk kids.org. We gave out student scholarships. We sponsored Johnson Elementary, Transformation Village.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so if people haven't heard of Transformation Village, which is the shelter and organization built by ABCCM, which we have a long history with, it's the Women and Children Shelter. So over the last couple of years, our Kiwanis Club gave them grants totaling about $85,000. We also once a quarter fund and pay for and serve a dinner to the 100 or so women and children there, and they are in the process of expanding because the need is so great.
Karon, you were mentioning then before, if somebody wants to get involved, talk a little bit more about the process. So they check on the website or send you an email. Then do you invite them to a meeting or they speak to an officer? What happens after I make that contact?
Yes, so they can check out our website. They can see what we're doing. They can send an email and say, hey, I'd love to come by. We meet the first and third Tuesday, and we meet at Biltmore Park at Western Carolina University campus, typically in the meeting room on third floor from 12 to 1:30. And they can shoot us an email, say, I want to get more involved. How do I do that? And we'll respond and say, come and join us, find out what we're doing. We'd love to have you. As I mentioned, we have this Biltmore Forest 10K coming up on August 17th. They can volunteer. There's so many ways to get involved. And now that the school year is getting ready to start, we have the key clubs that are going to be getting active, and we're going to be looking for involvement with that. We have Johnston Elementary School. We'll be looking for volunteers to help out with that. There's just so many ways that we can have direct impact in our community with children, with those in need.
Well, even you mentioned, and I can't believe you guys are going to be doing this, the race on the 17th. It would seem you get a lot of people in that race. Is that correct?
Yes, it's not as big as our Biltmore Estate race in May.
Okay.
We had 700 runners, but the Biltmore Forest 10K, yep, people can sign up and run it or volunteer.
Well, that's what I'm impressed with. So that they can run, but they can also volunteer for it. So you probably need a lot more than 20 people to help run that event. Is that correct?
That's
I
correct.
mean, even the big one, how many people volunteered for that
Oh
one?
my gosh, I don't even know.
Right.
Okay, yeah, the big one. Okay, well, we've been doing the Biltmore Estate Run for 24 years, and we're the only race run
Right.
on the estate. Biltmore Forest 10K. This is our second year doing it, so it's in its infancy. It's a little bit smaller, but again, all the money that we raise goes back into supporting the schools and the scholarships and the programs and projects and everything that we're doing locally. That money goes right back into the community.
What I'm hearing you say is that if somebody does want to come join or become a volunteer, you'll put them to work, it sounds like, or you'll find something for them to do.
Well, not everybody wants to come to work, but yeah, you're darn tootin' we will.
Well, no, but that's the beauty of what you do, I think. And what I'll encourage people to check it out in terms of if they want to get involved in the community, but don't know how, you're a marvelous way for them to find venues to immediately make a difference, you know.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, direct impact. We can immediately put them to work as much as they want to. It's not a requirement. However, if they have a desire to be involved with kids, with schools, with engaging our youth, with inspiring our future leaders of tomorrow, we can directly put them in touch with ways to do that.
what about folks who tell you they'd like to get involved, but they've never done this before? You know, and I think some people have never done this kind of stuff before. Do you get a lot of people, first timers, who are just getting out in the community for the first time? Does that happen a lot?
We do actually, and we've had some folks who've come to us recently and said, "Oh, my father was in Kiwanis," or "I knew somebody who was in Kiwanis, but I don't really know, who you are or what you do."
Sure.
So we have a gentle hand. We're not going to, throw them, right away into a project. It depends on their availability, how much they want to be involved. There's not a requirement. So we welcome volunteers and members, new members, and say, how would you like to be involved? What is your interest? What is your passion? Do you want to work with children? How would you like to be involved? So we have that engagement and conversation and communication with them to say, we're here doing this work. If you want to be involved, you tell us what's the best way for you to be engaged.
Talk about the involvement too. You mentioned that you meet, I think you said twice a month. Is that correct?
That's
Twice a month.
first and third
Right.
Tuesday.
Do
Mhm.
people have to come to every meeting, or is it a requirement?
No, it is not a requirement. They can come as they're able. And not only do we have our meetings in person, but they can join us on Zoom. So just like you and I are talking now and having this dialogue on Zoom, if they can attend in person, they can log on and they can attend by Zoom. We have engaging speakers. We invite community members, organizations, so many different programs. So not only will they have the opportunity to engage in our projects, but they're going to learn more about the community because we have incredible speakers twice a month and they're going to learn so much more about the community.
And that's cool. I didn't realize you did that. So if you can't make a meeting, it's live. You do the Zoom broadcast right then and
Yep,
there. Very
yep,
exciting. Do a lot of
yeah.
people log on?
Actually, yes. Yes, because life is what it is.
Right.
And so sometimes it's just easier if you can't make it in person, you can log on and join the meeting by Zoom.
Do,
And
do,
that
do,
information is sent out to those who are interested.
do you
Yep.
tape the meetings?
We do not.
Food for thought, just like we're taping this show, you might want to think about that sometime. If they can't make the 12 to 1:30 and they want to hear the speaker, wouldn't that be kind of a neat thing to do to make it available to them, next week or the following week?
I think it's a great idea.
Remind me to talk to you about it. It's very simple to do. There's no
Well,
way.
and yep, and I think we're going to have a conversation about that.
Okay,
Yeah,
but that's
because you're really good at doing that.
well, yeah, but I'm saying because you're doing such a good job reaching out to people, but if they can't make it, let's talk about that as an idea to pursue. Tell me also, if you would, in terms of the type of folks who are there now. Kiwanis, to its credit, changed many, many years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. It used to be just, wasn't it just an all-male organization many years ago at one time, Kiwanis?
It
Yeah,
was.
I was going to say before your time, and I was so impressed. It was right. No, but they
Well, you're
changed.
kind.
No,
You're
but they
kind.
changed. They changed, right?
So yes, Kiwanis International as an organization was founded in roughly 1915. Our Kiwanis Club, the first in the North and South Carolina, were in one division, 1919. They, I think, started admitting women
Right.
in 1987. And I'm a woman, and I don't want to say anything that would be untoward or not politically
Go for it.
correct.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that we know women can really get a lot done.
Well, also, which is exciting, and I remember that time when they switched over. So now women can not only join Kiwanis, they can be officers in Kiwanis.
Yes, as a matter of fact, Joanne Robertson, who is a former member of ours, was one of the first female presidents in our Carolinas district. And so I think at some point in the late 80s, Kiwanis International began to understand the contribution that women had been making for quite some time in the organization,
Right, exactly.
that it was time to be recognized. And then women began taking a leadership role, and that proved to be quite beneficial.
When I first started, you're also right. I'm sure it was 87 around that time. Yeah, until that time prior, women had been supportive roles, where they would help out, but it was exciting when they could finally join. Can you imagine? But I remember, and you probably too, at that time, it was somewhat controversial in some parts of the country. Some people weren't ready for it. It's changed. Membership right now, talk also about an age range. Do you have to be a certain age to join Kiwanis?
No. And the age range in the organization. So I think maybe there was a perception in the
Right.
past that Kiwanis was an organization made up of older members. And granted, we've had those. However, we also see a new energy, if you will, of younger people wanting to make a difference in the community and finding a way to work with children and serve the mission that we serve in our community. So there's no age range and no age limit, and we're very diverse.
It was probably exciting for you too, in terms of the age limit, when you got folks who were in key clubs. Do you ever get them after they graduate high school or through the program, then they become members of the regular chapter? Do you have that happen at all? Or have you had that
Um,
happen?
Actually, it happens more often than you think, because once that idea of our mission is instilled, and the perfect example and is so my husband, as I mentioned, Russ Martin, the former mayor of Asheville, he was involved when he was going to college. Now he's been in Asheville Kiwanis for 52 years. He got a scholarship from Kiwanis when he went to college. And this is going to go back a good ways. And it was that scholarship that made it possible for him to attend college. And here now, he's been a member here for 52 years. So it was that original, and I'm going to say that was in the 60s. And I know you'll understand that, maybe not, your younger audience, but he got a scholarship from Kiwanis, and it made it possible for him to go to college.
Okay, very exciting. And so When he got the Kiwanis scholarship, he just applied for it. It was just something he saw advertised, and then he took advantage of it.
He actually he met someone in the Kiwanis Club who was a business leader, and they were very impressed with who he was and what his ideals were, what he wanted to accomplish. And he said, I'm going to be applying for college. And they said, apply for this scholarship. And he got it and he went to college. And the rest is history.
Very exciting. And so one last thing I'm hearing you say, and to me, I think it's also exciting, is that if folks want to get involved, not only will you put them to work, but you also give them a chance. If they have ideas, they can make suggestions. And do you get suggestions from your members as to other projects to do?
All the time, which is part of what makes the organic process of what we do here locally. It's not that we just have specific parameters and guidelines, even though obviously, we have our key clubs at Reynolds, Anka, and Irwin, and we help Sleep Tight Kids. We help Hark, which is helping at-risk kids, and then Johnston Elementary. But there's so much more that we do, and we take the ideas that our members bring to us and say, hey, this is a great project we should really support and be involved with. And then our board of directors, which I serve on the board, our board of directors takes that, we look at the budget, and we say, okay, what can we do this year? Who can we help? Where should we channel our energy and our funds? What more can we do? So our members bring us project ideas all the time to give back to the community. So it's a very organic process, and we always appreciate those ideas.
And one last question. If somebody is active in Kiwanis at the high school level, do they have some Kiwanis chapters at the college level? Do some of them go on to be active?
Yes, there is, and it's called Circle K.
Okay, that's right. I've heard.
Okay, so we actually, Kiwanis International has organizations every step along the way. Now, whether communities or schools or organizations are able to support those specific efforts, we have several different groups, and Circle K is the collegiate level for students that are involved in Key Club. Once they move on to college, they can join Circle K in colleges that offer those programs, supported by, again, local volunteer organizations. And then once they graduate, they can join Kiwanis clubs in any community that they ultimately find themselves in, and continue their service and making a difference in the world.
And so I'm thinking out loud, if anybody's listening, if they had been in Key Club in high school or something, and they haven't been involved until now, it's a great thing they could get involved in, or try to contact like the local Asheville College's UNCA. Do they have a Circle K club?
We did at one time, although I don't think it's active currently. So yes, at one time we did have a Circle K club at UNCA. Like so many nonprofit organizations, those require volunteers,
Sure.
organization, time, effort, communication, logistics, meetings, and projects.
So I'm just mentioning that though, if anybody's listening and they want to get involved, contact the Asheville chapter. And if they want to start a Circle K group again at the college,
It would be fabulous.
exactly.
We would love it. It would be fabulous.
Okay. To wrap up, if folks want to get in touch with you again, if you mentioned both the website and the email address as to a first step they should do to find out more.
Yes, Blaine, and thank you. So they can email Kiwanis, which is Kiwanis, Kiwanis Club of Asheville at gmail.com, or they can visit our website, which is Asheville Kiwanis, Kiwanis.org. So either of those two avenues will bring them to us, our website, and or to email for more information to get involved, because we're doing fabulous things for 105 years in our community. And we're very engaged with local schools and inspiring our future leaders for tomorrow.
And the one thing I'd encourage folks to do is just what you said earlier. If they find this of interest or just want to find out more, get to a meeting. That's check it out. When you gave a tremendous way to get involved, if they can't get to the meeting, come. The information for where it's on, they can watch it on the computer. That's on the website also. They talk about it.
Actually, they just need to email and say, hey, I'd love to
Love it.
attend. What is the Zoom link so I can join you? And if they'll just email our secretary, who's wonderful, Elaine Grella, and our current president, Bev Buckner, who works out at Transformation Village. They do amazing jobs. They will let people know that they can jump on our Zoom meeting and learn more about us and the programs and projects. And every 2 weeks, we have engaging speakers about the community and a lot going on.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you, Karon Korp, for being my guest on the Blaines World webcast today. I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and we'll hopefully see you in person real soon. And you and I'll wrap up as soon as I stop taping. So stay with me as I stop taping, but thanks for joining me.
Thank you. I enjoyed our conversation so much.
Likewise. Speak to you soon.